Hello, friends, family, and keepers of the faith, to another Del Boy blog. This one is labelled Year 2 Blog 43, or in legacy numbers, Blog 95, and dated 17th of December 2023. And yeah, we're heading well forward now till Christmas. One more of these blogs before Christmas Day, I believe. And that's an interesting thing, really, because if anybody has been watching my blogs, you'll know that last year was pretty eventful when you consider that my blog fell on a Sunday and Christmas Day was a Sunday. And then if you do the math, that meant that New Year's Day was a Sunday. So I was doing my blogs on the actual Christmas Day and New Year's Day events. And the fun thing about that last year was that I did a New Year's sort of like hogmanay with Mainmeister, which, to be quite honest, if you count them up, I've done 3 of those now. And so they've sort of like, to me, have become a tradition. But it's one of those things where you can't guarantee something like that is going to happen every year. And it brings to mind just why Christmas isn't a thing to me anymore. Things move on. Things are never guaranteed. People move on. Events occur. And yeah, it's just one of those things where Christmas could become that same thing that I've had a number of times in my life, where it's been very quiet, and I've had to try and fill my time with something to do, which is why I sort of like bless the fact that YouTube gives me a voice. It gives me something to think about, something to do, because prep takes up a heck of a lot of time when you're doing a channel. Probably a blog less so, but it's still half a day. Because a blog really is what's happened in your life this week. But when you consider some of my friends' channels, I just think to myself, this is what I aspire to be, is like you guys. The editing work that you do, the research that you put behind it, the recording, the testing, the uploading, it all takes a massive amount of time, and you do it because it's fun and because you don't want to disappoint. It's why I'm now approaching my third year. I keep saying second year. It's my 3rd year I'm approaching. I will reach blog 100 before year 3. I haven't decided to do anything. There's no guarantee that I'll continue. These are all things that people will have to understand as you move forward. But anyway, less of that. This week has been a pretty busy one. I still have problems with my back, but it's getting better. I went for a walk on Monday, longer than I normally do in my lunch break, and then I strained my calf muscle, which meant that I really exasperated the problem by the fact that then I have a back and a leg problem. But it got me to kick myself up the arse a little bit, because I bought a mattress. Very expensive. It was the money that I paid towards the boiler to pay for a mattress, in a hope that a new mattress with a much springier feel to it will straighten my back and help me an awful lot more, because my old mattress was over 7 years. So I've been on that now for 3 or 4 nights, and that's helped a little bit. I've done stretching exercises, and I've elevated my legs by sleeping on top of the bed, in a hope that sort of like releases the nerve a little bit. And each day it's a little bit better, but I'm still on a lot of tablets and I'm still in a lot of pain. But it is better. I can sit a bit longer. If I'm sitting in this position now, you'll realize I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable. But of course, if I move just slightly in degrees, left or right or forward, I ruin that position, and then you can't get it again. It's a little bit like that Planes, Trains and Automobiles moment with John Candy and Steve Martin in the car, where he can't get the seat right, and once you move the seat, you can never get it back to that same position. It's a bit like that. But yes, this week is the build up to Christmas. I'm now off from work. The reason for that is I still need to take up 20 plus holidays. So if I take off my time from Monday till going back on the 2nd of January 2024, I use up quite a big chunk of days, and I've only then got 11 days to take, but I've got to take them before the end of February, so it's still quite a big chunk, and then I'm at the same level as everybody else. In other words, I'll be taking 30, I think it's 32 holidays I take. Yeah, so 32 holidays in the year, February to February. And it's been a big time for announcements. A lot of them will probably bite me in the ear. My line manager is taking on a 6-month loan to another department in the government to do with public transport, and therefore will not be my line manager at the end of January. The person who's been steering us in regards to assets is moving into a new team, and that starts in January, which means he can't cut his time between 2 departments, so he is relinquishing his control. That means that the government is advertising for a contractor to come in, or looking for a full-time person. The online manager that I mentioned before has no guarantee that she'll be back in the same department, but she will still have a job and have a position in the team that she owns, which is what we call the calm team, which means that all that's left are the contractors that I work with and the full civil servants that I work with, all which are relatively new. And every time I go into a line manager's meeting, I've now thought, well, what's the point? Because I'm now going to be speaking it all from scratch again to a new person. So yeah, I've noticed in my build up to going into Christmas, jobs that I thought that would be handed to me because a person is leaving is going to someone else, and it means that I don't know what January brings for me. It's that horrible thing where if you don't have stability at home and you don't have stability at work, you're stressed. And that's the whole reason why my hypertension is high. And so it's like an endless circle. So watch this space. Maybe 2024 will be a good year. I've got a funny feeling that the building blocks that I wanted for 2023 have not been met. and therefore will continue into 2024, and I will see things that I thought would be opportunists for me to go into will be given to other people, and that will make me sad, because I still try 110% at trying to do a good job, and it's been hard when I've got so many holidays that I've had to book, and that means holidays are working against me. Should that be the case? You earned them. Anyway. So, what's going to happen this week? I've got to do an awful lot for my mother, of course. With my bad back, I've not been able to go into the attic, but I've promised my mother I will, after this blog, go up into the attic and get the Christmas decorations down, because she's decided, yes, we are still going to have them down. Because at one point we were saying Christmas was cancelled, which is great news to me. Less so for my mum. So, there's that. We've got to go to the butcher's and get the Christmas meat. That'll probably be about Wednesday, Thursday, because, obviously we've got to put them in a fridge or freezer, and we haven't got that much space. Plus, you don't want it too early because it's kept well at the butcher's, so you usually get it last minute. I'll need to go to Iceland and get get the odd little odds and sods, like cans of drink and water and sauces and condiments and things like that. I haven't been able to find a pavlova. My mum likes pavlova. She wanted that as a pudding for Boxing Day after the Christmas pudding. I don't have Christmas pudding either. It's horrible. And I don't like pavlova either. But Iceland don't have them. Sainsbury's don't have them. So I'm going to have to go to Morrison's and Tesco, see if I can find one. I couldn't make one. All that whisking for egg white, no. Oh. And ice and sugar, no. But it's not my type of thing anyway, but I want to make my mum happy. I get my mother mostly the same things every year. She's got this special perfume that she likes, which I'll pick up this week. I pay for my Christmas with the interest money I get from the sale of my house. So I'll be going down to the Building Society to pick that money up on Monday. And pretty much that wraps up sort of like Christmas, because really there's, all of the things that I used to have to do, like buying presents for my work colleagues, buying presents for friends, they're no longer around. So there's the odd one or two that I'll be posting. There'll be the odd 5 or 6 where there'll be games through Steam, possibly. That sort of thing that will pop up in people's emails. That's about it, really. And it just brings me back to the fact that Christmas isn't for everybody. Just take it like this. I went into work on Wednesday, and you get to know some of the offenders because they're waiting in reception, and you get to know some of them. Some of them have been coming in to see probation officers for a number of years, and you then get to see that they're not there anymore. So you usually speak to the probation officer, just on passing, how's things going? How's things with you? Christmas all going okay? And you usually bring the offenders in and say, oh, how's so-and-so? I haven't seen that person for a while. Are they now off of tag? Have they now finished? And unfortunately, another one has committed suicide. And suicide is a big thing in my life since I've joined the probation service. I've heard that now 4 times in 10 years, that a person that I've got to know has hung themselves or performed self-harm. And it's an eye-opener, and it makes you think, live life to the fullest if you can. But let's get all that out the way. We usually do the norm, don't we? Which is start off with the news, talk about the war and so forth. I've got my chicken scratch in front of me again as normal. Hopefully I can read my writing. And it starts off with the war. Putin addressed the nation with a speech lasting more than 2 hours this week. The speech was met with widespread alarm, with comments pointing to themes of Russian nationalism, imperialism, and historical revisionism. That was a big word, isn't it? One politician noted that the speech was a messy, incoherent, angry rant that made little sense, but put forward a dark vision of renewed national glory. Yes, so I heard of this during the week. Putin's longest speech was 2 hours 22. Before this speech, this one went on for about 2 hours 40, and everybody was saying that history was being rewritten if you were to believe everything that was going on in this speech from Putin. So I'm not surprised it was condemned an awful lot. As you know, it was the biggest story really of this week, unless I've missed something that's happened this weekend with the bombings and so forth. But we just want it to end. My God, I don't want to be on blog year 5 and it's still going. You know what I mean? God. Some English news now, not much here. PM's question time was a damp squib this week as politicians broke up for Christmas recess. So they've been honestly, it's like schools. They have this half term and full term and all this sort of stuff. It weren't too long ago that they were just coming back, and now they're recessing again. And it was all the same normal nonsense. Does the Prime Minister not recognise this, that and the other? And does not the opposition not recognise this, that and the other? It was just rubbish, to be quite honest. The sad news of an actor called Steve Helliwell. People outside the UK probably won't recognise him, but he played a character called Zach Dingle in Emmerdale. And Emmerdale's been going for 60 years plus. And he was in it for 29 plus years, playing a character called Zach Dingle. And the Dingles sort of like have become a sort of like a stay point in that show. You know, they're the commoners. You know what I mean? The people that, you know, if you looked at them, they look like squatters. Zach Dingle is the burly, muscle man, hefty bloke of the lot. Always trying to get one-upmanship, stealing, poaching, that sort of thing. Very sad to see a character like that go, because as he got older, then of course he softened up. So, you know, but 29 years, what an innings, and, you know, rest in peace to that character. The Mirror Group this week lost their case against Prince Harry, and Piers Morgan lashed out, saying that Prince Harry just wants to hurt the royal family by distorting the truth. Yeah, so obviously all these big money payouts, Prince Harry put in 30 or so cases of where the Mirror Group have overstepped the line. And then, of course, Piers Morgan, who used to head some of these papers and now has his own TV show. A not likable person is Piers Morgan to me. He's hitting out by saying, what a load of nonsense, and this guy just wants to hurt the royal family. Where I don't have full disagreement with that, because, you know, Prince Harry has in my opinion, overstepped the mark with an awful lot of things. He's no longer got royal duties, so why should the English taxpayers pay for his security when he's over here? That sort of thing. So I do have an opinion on it a little bit. And then the last one is just a minor story, but a big one for people of a certain age, and that is A Question of Sport, which is a quiz show that I used to watch with my dad on BBC One for quite a few years. It's been cancelled after 53 years, so it's a 53-year-on sports quiz show. The reasons for it, it's based on the television license story that I brought out, was it last week or the week before, where there is a 90 million funding gap, even though they've put the TV license fee up by £10. So what they're saying is dwindling figures and little payback through iPlayer has caused them to have to close the show down. So all sad news, really. Nothing, no Christmas cheer. Awful, really. But what can you do? I just hope things sort of improve in the new year. And excuse me while I just have another drink. Love orange. Other colours are available. Just settles my throat a little bit. So we'll move on to the shout-outs. Okay, so again, I think there's been some problems with YouTube in the fact that they've upgraded their chat engine, because a friend of mine mentioned that he wasn't seeing comments anymore, and I've had that on and off through the year. But I noticed by the time I got to Friday, I'd only got like 4, 5 comments, where normally I'd have 10 or so. And it's mixed in with well, could people be busy? Could people not be watching the blog? Because the numbers were obviously down a little bit as well. And can't work it out. So my shout outs this week, thank you so much. And if I've missed anybody, it's because you weren't there. And they are this week: Martroid, Colin Jones Ponder, David Retro Games Play Badly, Denny, Ian Hill The Ramblings, Paul Patrick, and Wee Bob Art. That's it. That's the shout outs. And thanks to every single one of those. And thanks to all those that have watched. It is appreciated. You know, obviously my blog has a reason and a justification for it, but the more I know people are interested in what my week has been like and what I've watched, and also gives you sort of like a kick up the bottom to sort of like watch something new, then I'm happy. So, you know, at the moment, I feel happy to continue doing my blogs. Like I say, we're reaching the 100th. So there we go. So we move ever forward now, and we're moving into the questions. So I'll move these. These are not in any particular order. Every single one of them has left a comment for me. Thank you so much. It really does mean an awful lot to me. More than a like, you know, which I could do with more of. But here we go. Martroid. He stated he's back at work now, Del, after my little surgical procedure last week. Everything seems to have gone well, so that's good. Let's face it, no one likes going under the knife. Surely. Anyway, I'm very much enjoying your blog today, so cheers, mate. And thank you so much, Martroid. I enjoyed doing them as well. And you've been commenting now, I think nearly through the very start. I think you were there at the beginning. I have to check that out. One thing I haven't really done is look at some of my past ones, see myself, how I've changed, and look at the old format. You know, I keep moving forward with changing the format and trying to do something different and better. So I might do that this week. I've got more time on my hands, but I'm concentrating on a lot of content that's coming out this week. Maybe I won't go to the point of saying it'll be one a day, but I'll urge myself to get a lot more out there, varied stuff as well, not the same old thing. You know what I mean? Thank you so much for that comment, Martroid. And we move now to David's Retro Games Play Badly. And he's put, keeping me company at work as usual, matey. Probably won't be able to watch much for a while, at least not in full. Super busy at home and work, unfortunately. So again, you can see we're heading into a very busy period. And by the way, I wish everybody well in all the jobs that they're doing. You're keeping us all going, you know. Exceptional stuff from you guys. He stated, vaguely recall the game Res. Fairly sure I own it for the Dreamcast. Yes, it was on the Dreamcast. Res is an old time favorite of mine. A vector graphic shoot 'em up of a sort with music. In VR, it's exceptional. Really does pull you in, that game. Love Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but if you twisted my arm, I would pick the Dirk Gently books over them. Yeah, Dirk Gently, is that the Dirk Gently Holistic Detective Agency? I've read the books. I watched a TV series of it. But Hitchhiker's Guide, no, I don't think there's anything that would better it. But that's where we're all different. I loved my parents and grandparents whilst still young. I lost my parents and grandparents while still young. Personally, I think it would have been nice to have them around later in life to see me make something of myself, to meet my children, etc. Yes. See, where I don't have a family, I would still love my grandparents to be around, but more than ever, I'd love to have my dad back. That would be wonderful, just to show him what I've done as well, that I've tried to pick up the mantle a little bit, get a little bit of feedback. Maybe you could leave a comment. Do you remember the Moonlighting version of Scrooge? Yes, the TV series Moonlighting with Bruce Willis. I do remember that episode. And I've been thinking all last week of all the Christmas episodes of TV that I used to watch, because it was my friend Denny that reminded me of even older shows from the 60s and 50s that have some cracking Christmas specific episodes. And we brought that up as a discussion at the end of the Doctor Who deliberation that we did on Monday, which, by the way, went really, really well. And we got a lot of feedback and a lot of comments, and people have said do more of it. So Denny and I are going to be speaking this week about that, and possibly do another one before Christmas, and then do regular ones. So yes, that's something positive to come out of StreamYard and my blog. So yes, looking forward to that. I enjoyed The Dial of Destiny. That's the film that I bought last week. Yeah, it was entertaining, as I said, but I do see Indiana Jones, to me, ending really on the third film. And therefore, Indiana Jones, to me, was a great little snippet of the 80s. It never went beyond the 80s if you bring in the third Indiana Jones film, because it was just at the end. And you can then forget the other two, and I don't think anybody would complain too much. There'd always be the people that said missed opportunity and wouldn't it have been great. But after watching these following two, there's something that's missing. You can tell there's a lot of money being put in it. You can tell that there are stories there. It's just not the same. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. The figures will show whether it was a high-performing film in the demographic of children rather than adults. We'll see. Great trailers, mate. You continue, and hope you and your mum have a great Christmas, and thank you so much, and I hope you and your family have a great Christmas. You really deserve it. You've been listening to my blog while at work. Now you can put your legs up, have those bottles of beer, and just relax until you all start again after the new year. And you'll look there forward to holidays, I suppose. Isn't that weird? Do you remember after Christmas, literally from Boxing Day, the adverts that used to be on television were all holiday adverts? You know, go on this cruise, go with Thomas Cook to this place. Holiday destinations like Turkey and Greece and Spain and America and Australia and all of those. And they put up the sort of like semi prices for them, and you go in and you total it all up, and it can never always twice as much as what they put. But it was all full of Christmas. It was full of holidays, and I believe January's first program that would be on ITV would be Wish You Were Here, the holiday program or something like that. Yeah, my God, that was the 80s, the definite. Thank you so much, David. Salute and Merry Christmas to you. Thank you very much for watching, and continue to support me. It's very important. I definitely get that vibe that you're definitely supporting me. Let me get to Colin Jones. My mate Ponder. Love him. Brilliant. He has his blog tomorrow. So put that in your calendar and diary. That'll be a great one, you know, just before Christmas. I can imagine what his blog's going to be like. Full of fun, full of laughter, and, of course, rants like you normally get on what's been happening through the last month. And there's been a lot happening. So he starts off with, pain is never good. Hope you get rid of it soon. Oh, if only. It will never get got rid of because it's sciatica and a flare-up. But let's hope that it gets better, you know. And on the most part, it's a little bit there. Castle and Terror indeed cannot be completed. Shame, really. Well, again, I could nitpick here and say you can, because there are patches to that game. I do know that there is a version you can download which allows you to complete the game. It is just a shame that it was released as a product and it had a bug, and a shocking one, because you'll never complete it. But adventure games, how many people did complete them? Over to my friend Denny to give me statistics there. He then continues, I still say that The Muppets Christmas Carol is the best Christmas movie ever, and I include anything released in the future for that. We had Half a Sixpence as a school production one year, but the non-Christmas movie that was on every year without fail through my childhood was The Wizard of Oz. Just to let you know, The Wizard of Oz is in the Radio Times and on at Christmas. So you're going to be happy. Just thought I'd give you that little nod to say it is available and it is around. The Muppets Christmas Carol is a great Christmas movie, and it's part of my top films, but it's not the best. No. But I can see why it can be. You know what I mean? There are so many Christmas movies, and so many that want to tell a different story or have a different morality point of view to impose across. Alistair Sims's Christmas Carol is absolutely fantastic. The thing about the Muppets one is it's just so full of joy and fun, you know, with the songs and Michael Caine, and you know What can you not like about the Muppets? It just brings fantastic joy. So totally agree, really. But not the best. Not the number one. No. Not in my eyes. I'm off for 5 days over Christmas, though the only extra days off are Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Next vlog is tomorrow, as you're filming yours, so Monday the 18th. And hope I got that across now twice, Colin, so hopefully that gets you something. And you end with my question. Given I have a stinking cold at the moment, what are your favourite non-medical cold remedies? Hot lemonade is mine, especially with a dash of whiskey when available, and I don't have to avoid alcohol. And as I was saying, don't really have one because although I tend to have a nasally condition because my nose got broke when I was in my 30s. And so the cartilage is shifted across, blocks one side of my nose. My blood pressure means that I can't have certain medication. However, in the last 6-7 years, the best medication I can give you for staying well is my walking. It's no surprise. Many people know that I go for a walk in my lunch hour. Every lunch hour I go for a walk. At the weekends I do as much walking as I can. And at one point I was nearly totaling about 25 miles each week. So I was doing close to 100 miles in a month, walking, totally walking. And with my knee problem, it's diminished and diminished and diminished. And I keep pushing myself to do more because I don't get out of breath unless I'm talking. If I'm talking and walking, I get out of breath. But if I'm just walking, I don't get out of breath and I don't feel fatigued. But I do realise it the next day if I've pushed myself that little bit too much. If I speed walk, go a little bit quicker, that sort of thing. So I'll be readdressing that in the new year and seeing if I can get myself back up to the old values or whether I can mix it up a little bit by doing some speed walking in certain sections and seeing if I can beat my time. My watch is my greatest friend, to be quite honest. This Fenix 6 watch. And I've had the Fenix range of watches since Fenix 3. It's a Garmin, by the way. A very costly watch, but one that I couldn't live without now. It's such a sturdy watch. It's just a shame that Garmin put a battery in it and then there's no way of getting to that battery. And if you could, you break all sorts of seals. And it's because Garmin want you to buy the next watch because they usually come out once every about 18 months, 2 years with extra features. The latest one now has solar glass panel on the actual watch face and recharges while you're walking. It's even using kinetic energy. Do you remember kinetic energy in analog watches where your natural moving your wrist around automatically wound up the mechanism in your watch so you never actually had to have a battery? I've still got a kinetic watch, I'll have a little look at that. So I don't really have a cold remedy other than walking. But yes, in the past, I used to love a drop of whiskey. But that was just any excuse to drink whiskey, to be quite honest. There's the normal remedies, Vicks, nasal, up your nose, the Olbasoil on the pillow, the Vicks Vapor Rub, and so forth and so forth. But non-medication, walking. walk in the rain, the wind, the snow, sun, everything. Your natural immune system is boosted because it recognizes, oh, it's raining and all that sort of stuff. We tend to forget that the cold is a germ that you get from not just being cold and wet, but it's basically from touching people, being next to people with it. And I suppose I'm blessed in the fact that I don't have too many friends for that to happen, because I don't pass it on to my mother. But it could happen. So thank you so much, salute, sir, to your question, your comment, your constant support. Thank you so much. And the next one I spied is, oh my God, Denny. I need a drink. He drives me to drink, Denny does. Hang on. Oh, so much better. No, drives me to drink because I know I'm going to be talking a lot for the next couple of minutes. So brace yourselves. Love Denny, brilliant. He knows everything of that. It was in jest. Hi, Adele. I wish I could do it in his accent. That's the only thing. Hi, Adele. Hope that back is starting to get a little better for you. Hope your mother is good in spirits as well. Firstly, I want to wish everyone a very happy Christmas and a new year. You wouldn't think it is Christmas these days. So many shopping centres and supermarkets devoid of any Christmas cheer at all. No Christmas music or decorations to speak of. Even the Christmas produce, food and confectionery are a poor selection to pick through this year. Just doesn't feel like the Yuletide at all. Thanks once again for the 3 wonderful live streams we did together. We really must do more. Hopefully just before Christmas. Here we are. All in agreement. So we're going to ruin everybody's lives by doing another one at least before Christmas. Tune in at your peril. I feel for you regarding your mouse. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, my mouse died and I still can't afford another one. I'm still using this. I'm battling with this mouse, honestly. It really is, this cable. I feel for you regarding your mouse. It's just never the same when you lose something that served you well all those years. Yeah, and it has. 13 years, that mouse. Yeah. It really was. My friend's dead. It really was bad. I was in bits. I always wondered, did Johnson really have COVID? And was he as bad as they made out? He had a habit of hiding away when there were questions to answer. That's Boris Johnson, yeah. I think he did. I don't think that's a lie. There are pictures and evidence. I just don't think he gave a shit. That's the thing. I think he thinks of his self-importance. Yeah, that's the best way for me to talk about that guy. I'm in 100% agreement of overpaid talent, and I mean that most loosely. On the BBC, Zoe Ball is another one. 980 to 985,000 a year. What on earth does she do for that kind of money? Yeah, and I mentioned probably badly Gary Lineker and Match of the Day and all of that sort of stuff. But when you see these figures, 980,000. And here's the BBC saying, we've got a 90 million deficit. And you're just going, cut her wage. Just 10% across the whole of the board. I mean, that 10% of Gary Lineker would probably do it. Oh, we don't really know their actual figures. They are published, but I don't really pay too much attention to them. I just know it's money that you could recoup, and I don't think that they would bat an eyelid. The interest they're getting on that money in their bank accounts. The BBC doesn't make any decent comedy sitcoms anymore. that it used to, like Hello Hello. Probably no talent in the actors pool anymore. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Sadly, I'd probably say as well the writers. We had some cracking writers. And although that I do think there is talent out there, I think they don't go back to the well to see how something was written years ago and adapt it. They go with what they know, what they've learned, what they've been taught, and they're being taught in an era that is full of political correctness and all sorts of stuff that alienates me an awful lot. Like I say, I do get excited sometimes about certain storylines that are about to hit the shelves in a comic book or a show that seems to indicate it's got a spark of life in it. But most of the time, I'll read that comic book or watch that TV show, come away disappointed. Wasn't anything like what I thought it was going to be or what the trailer intended it to be. Okay, I've given in. I've downloaded Barbarella, so I'll watch it over Christmas. Darn right you should give in. How dare you turn around and say that you love your sci-fi dystopian futures, love all this TV stuff, and not watch Barbarella. My God. It's not giving in. It's filling a hole that should have been filled in years ago. No, enjoy it, matey. Even if you don't enjoy it, you know that you've got it out of the way and it's another one filled. You know, it's like that with me. Sometimes you just got to balance things out, you know. Thanks for answering my question. Yeah, I have to say the Famous Five wasn't my cup of tea either. I was into works by Helen Cresswell, who wrote Moondial, Edith Nesbit's The Enchanted Castle, and The Phoenix and the Carpet. I remember The Phoenix and the Carpet. The Enchanted Castle. I'm probably just thinking about that because it's got the word enchanted and castle in it. I probably don't remember that one. Moondial, I remember. Yes. Didn't BBC make a production of that? I think they did. Anyway, great first question from Steve on Text Adventures. Love your memories of the Quest Probe series. They are on my list on ones to do. Completed Gremlins on the Spectrum again. Another on the long list of a future video. And of course, The Hobbit. Never completed that, but I'd love to do the 128K version on the Spectrum and an official overhauled version developed by the world of spectrum.org. Yeah, I'd love you to do that as well. Although I played the Spectrum version, I had the Hobbit on tape and then got the disc version. But the disc version didn't look that much different to the tape version, even though I saw pictures that looked far greater. And I found out later on it was the American version that they were displaying the graphics for. And later on, I watched them, and yeah, they were greatly improved. So different. Brilliant game, obviously. I remember the packaging more than anything. It came in a great big sort of like plastic case. The book was in there. I still remember the holder for the disc and the tape in one that was underneath the book, and the molded plastic, you know, that clammed it all together. It was a clamshell. It was great. That was the one I bought anyway. Alistair Sims is still my favourite Scrooge. In the same manner, Basil Rathbone for Sherlock Holmes. Black and white films have an atmosphere colour ones find hard to replicate. And yeah, I've just been talking about that just now, Denny. I love the Alistair Sims. I think the reason that Alistair Sims is not in my top three is because in my top three, I've already got an older film, which is It's a Wonderful Life. And Scrooge, has sort of like replaced My Christmas Carol, if you see what I mean. So to have A Christmas Carol and Scrooged and It's a Wonderful Life in the top three, no, you sort of like move things around, and you can't fault National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's just, you got to have a bit of slapstick, and that one just fills that hole, greatly for me. So I always look forward to watching those three films, even though the Christmas period is not for me. Your trailers for this week. Pearl intrigues me. Must give that a watch. The Equalizer 3 is another to catch when it streams. Enjoyed the first two films. Love the summing up of the 80s Indiana films, capturing time in the 80s perfectly put. Oh yeah, I did say that, didn't I? Capturing time. Yeah. That does sum that up. Pearl, I've watched. Finally watched it this week. Good. I'm really liking these Thai West films. That's rock. That's the positives you get from listening to somebody else talk about films, like Rock God. He was the one that he said, if you're looking for something that is a little bit different and something to kickstart watching horrors again, X and Pearl. And to be quite honest, can't fault him. Definitely. How I missed those, I don't know. I buy a lot of steelbooks, and they came out as steelbooks, and I just basically missed out on them. So glad I turned that around. It's been a weird year when it comes to my steelbooks. I've missed an awful lot. And that's because of the way distribution now works in regards to Zavvi, HMV, and Amazon. Editions that I wanted to have, that I targeted, got cancelled where other people got them. All sorts. So yeah, missed on an awful lot of that. So after all that waffle, my question for this week is, do you have any Christmas traditions in your household regarding particular foods you have every year on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day? Ours are pork cobs with stuffing on Christmas Eve, a tradition turkey roast on the big day, and the leftovers to pick from on Boxing Day. I can't say we have a tradition, but yeah, I have to. When it comes to the trimmings on Christmas, I like those pigs in blankets, the little sausages with bacon round. And I can't think of Christmas without having a Yorkshire pudding, even though that's not really traditional Christmas fare. I do try each year to force myself to eat a vegetable that I don't like. So, Brussels sprouts, runner beans, things like that. But I always end up eating half of them and going, I'm glad that year's out of the way. I don't have to think about eating those again until next year. I just don't like them. I suppose it's, I think it's right that you should try and force yourself, Boxing Day, we have another Christmas meal, believe it or not, but it's a much smaller one. I must admit it is made up of the meat from the day before, but it's mixed in with beef this time. And that's because our Christmas dinner is not turkey. We have cockerel and gammon. So cockerel is just, male chicken. So basically it's a bit like turkey, a bit more gamey, a bit more expensive as well, to be quite honest. But that with honey glazed gammon, lovely. So the next day the bits of those are put into the gravy, and we have a proper roast beef sort of like dinner. Christmas Eve is more about opening the tubs of chocolate the day before, some friends might turn up and we'll have mince pie with cream. Offer those out. And I tend to get to the salted peanuts. I'm a massive fan of salted peanuts. Bad for you, but I eat, a couple of those and I go, oh, that tasted nice. I'll have a couple more. And then suddenly they're in your hand and you're eating them. And then all of a sudden you're scoffing them in your gob and you're like a squirrel with them in your mouth. My mum likes cracking nuts open with the walnut crackers. Oh, does my head in that. Yeah. So not really, Denny, but really, yes. It's a bit of a mix. I will say on Boxing Day, after Boxing Day, we make all sorts of things. Not curries or anything, but we'll make stews, of meat. My mum loves having me making bread, because I make bread after Boxing Day, and on certain years, and she likes it just as it's come out the oven, warm. Because I used to have a bread maker, but I know how to do it now. And she'll have a cockerel, a turkey sandwich, but it be made out of cockerel. And she'll do that with some vegetables in it, sort of like a Christmas dinner sandwich. But I can't go any further with that other than that. Once again, I hope yourself and your mother and everyone on here enjoy what break they have over the festive season. God bless us, everyone. Watch Scrooge. It's a classic. you got a bet on how many times I can say Scrooge, or how many times a drinking game or something, or are you just advertising Scrooge because you've got shares in it or something? Bloody hell, man. Thank you so much, Denny. My salute to you. Can't wait to do some more work with you this week, my friend. You know how much I want you to have a great Christmas, no matter how much I think it won't happen, but I think, I'll pray that it does. So we get to Paul Patrick, and he's put, hope you've had a good week, Del. Are you excited about the prospect of some new Sega games in the new year based on the classic franchises which they announced? I'm really looking forward to seeing what Sega do with Jet Set Radio, as I really loved playing that game on the Dreamcast, and then the subsequent HD remaster of it on the PS3/4. I mentioned this last week, Paul, and thank you so much, by the way, for the comment and the question. I mentioned last week where somebody, one of the channels that I watch, woke up with a lot of advertisements saying, have you seen the new trailer? Have you seen the new trailer? And he watched the new trailer, and it was that they have put development into resurrecting Sega games, and they are more from the Dreamcast era than anywhere else. There were a couple of eye-openers, Streets of Rage and Shinobi, which are not really Dreamcast era, but Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi were. And I mentioned last week that I'm excited and not excited. Atari have tried to do this with their re-imaging, and in the most part they've been average. Some have been exceptional, and a couple have been absolute poor piss shitty games that you're forking out quite a bit of money for. I've got high expectations for Jet Set Radio. It's the one that stood out the most in the video. They're using that cell shaded niceness that they did before, but the backgrounds this time seem totally HD remastered. Oh my god, doesn't that look stunning and beautiful? And the camera angles they've used look totally fresh. Do you see what I mean? Jet Set Radio is one of those weird games where if you were into Tony Hawk's skating stuff, you probably got the hang of it, but I was never very good at going against the rails and leaping off and then doing some graffiti and going back and forth and so forth. I was never very good, which is why Crazy Taxi was so much fun, because it was an arcade game, and B, it was just so easy. You know, it was just point to point, get this person from one place to another. Apparently, what I have heard, some more news on these new ones, is they brought back the people that developed them the first time to work with the new team that's reimagining them. So in that case, you've got the original people that knew what made a game be in there somewhere, and I think that's essential. So yes, I'm quite excited now when I heard that. And you continue. Do you have any favourite Christmas or winter themed games? My favourite is Christmas Nights into Dreams on the Sega Saturn, which is just so relaxing to play and enjoy at this time of year. Now, my answer to that simply straight away is no, but yes. Anybody who's watched my blogs will know that I hate Christmas, and what I used to do is I used to go to Steam and find a game that was marked up as being absolutely fantastic. I'd buy it, and on Christmas Eve I'd start playing it, and then I'd play it all the way through Christmas. World of Craft was, I think, one that I got, and I must admit, days seemed like hours, because as soon as I was playing it, you know, it was suddenly 2 a.m, and then I'd wake up and it'd be playing it again, and it was 2 a.m. again. And there are very few games that have got me like that. Another mainstay was Guild Wars, because they used to have these festivals called Winter's Day, and I used to log on at certain hours. I think it was every hour, but every 3 hours there was the big event. So you clocked the time, you'd log on, play the stupid game that they asked you to play, which was a Simon Says game, if I remember rightly, and you'd get all the presents. Then you'd sell all the presents, come back in 3 hours and do the whole thing again, and you'd do it to the point where I'm going to keep them now, I'm not going to sell them on. And you got lots and lots of cash, and you got the stuff for next year. Haven't played Guild Wars 2 since January, February this year. And Guild Wars 1 has been switched off for a while, but it came back and I did go back on, but I didn't use it half as much as I thought I was going to. In fact, I was going to at one point ask Denny to come onto the server that I was on, and we could just wander about and say, do you remember this bit here and this bit here and all of that sort of stuff, but it never happened. I think the servers are still on, so that might still happen. And so really it's a bit of a piss poor answer for you at the end, and I apologize. I can't really think of a Christmas game, a game specifically with a Christmas theme. I've seen all the stuff that Steve and Robert, have done in their channels, where they do the advent calendar type stuff, each year, and play all those Christmas games. And each single one of them I bought those, but they were shit. Like Scooby-Doo at Christmas, Tiny Toons at Christmas, Blues Brothers at Christmas, Addams Family. All of them had some sort of Christmas thing. I remember playing, what was it, James Bond Robocod or something, the second one, as a Christmas game, and I got enjoyment out of that. But that was probably more to do with the fact that it was at a time where I didn't give a shit about cutesy graphics. It had snow falling, it looked like an outside castle, you were picking up bits and bobs, you had the Robocod character, James Pond. Because I never really got into some of the others, Zool and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, sorry, bad answer, but I hope you got some good answer out of me with the Sega stuff, because yes, I'm really looking forward to that. Getting towards the end now of the questions, so just have another bit of a drink. and we get to Ian Hill, the Ramblings. Hi, Del Boy. Hope the back is getting better. It was clear to see you were in a lot of pain. You did well to get through the blog. Hope your mother is doing okay. I had my flu injection with a lot of encouragement from my son. Thanks for the shout out too. Enjoyed your live chat with Denny. I hope you are both now encouraged to do more. Thank you so much, Ian. I mean, like I said, you filled quite an awful lot in just those 3 sentences. My back, I'm trying to hide it, but I'm hoping it looks a little bit better. Maybe I've not got a frown on my head as much. It's still awkward. It's still there. I'm trying not to move too much. Loved what I did with Denny. You will be seeing a lot more of that. So glad you got your flu injection. I do feel it's important. Flu injections of a certain age. And I'll be taking it much more seriously. So, Doctor Who has still been a lot on my mind. I was feeling so deflated. Fortunately, I recorded a review of The Mind of Evil 1971 for my series of reviewing 3rd and 4th Doctor stories. I loved it. Really did make me feel so much better. You just can't beat classic Doctor Who. Then I had to review the latest issue of Doctor Who magazine. Yes, and I watched that, by the way, because you did it as a premiere. I tried to be honest in my feelings. There was a comic reprint free of the Star Beast comic with the 4th Doctor. Made me realise how awful this Russell T Davies adaptation was. It made the Twin Dilemma look like a masterpiece. It's the worst Doctor Who story I've ever seen. The other 2 were a bit better, but not by much. No matter what, I've also stood by Doctor Who. I liked Jodie Whittaker. She is a Yorkshire lass. I know she was badly let down by poor scripts, but I can find 3 or 4 stories I enjoyed. Now, these Russell T Davies specials have totally changed everything. I have not pre-ordered them. I feel I don't want them in my collection. I might over time have the completionist take over and get them. I just don't know. If I know anything about you, Ian, I think you will get them. When it comes to the Star Beast, you haven't said whether you dislike the story or dislike the episode. Star Beast came out in 1979 in Doctor Who Comics Weekly. And later on, it was a Marvel reprint for the American market as an actual issue. And I gave a PDF of my, because I've actually got the comic myself upstairs, to Denny to look at before we actually watched the episode. And to be quite honest, I found as a kiddie great enjoyment reading Star Beast in Doctor Who Comics Weekly because I was 10 years old. So you have to look at it and go, again, are we damning something for damning reasons, or are we damning it because it's not written for us anymore? Because is it the worst Doctor Who episode ever? No. I can mention a couple of classic ones that are worse. Not many. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of people are looking back at that first special and are rejigging their figures because I think they were under the impression that it was the anniversary and it was the moment. It was the whole excitement of seeing somebody come back, the nostalgic feeling that was brought from that. And Russell T Davies tried to do something by bringing back a script that is mostly not remembered. I must admit, Star Beast didn't come to mind with me either because I remember more about the Iron Legion as a story than that one. But saying all of that, I'm with you on a lot of it. I have bought the specials. I have bought the Celestial Toymaker. and I've bought the colorized Daleks, which will all come shortly. I believe the specials arrive tomorrow for me, because I got an email this morning that said, every now have your package. Might even arrive today, I don't know. But I doubt it. It's just that it's the Sunday before Christmas, and I think that everybody is out delivering everything that they can. You know what I mean? It's money, 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 isn't it, all the time? Then you said, I cheered myself up and watched Red Dwarf, series 3 to 6, which I love. Yeah, I think probably the height of Red Dwarf is seasons 3 to 6. I might include season 2. Season 1's a bit of a mix, but even in season 1, you got to remember it's the starting point, and everything has to have a starting point, and it can be a bit rough. But yeah, Red Dwarf always brings a smile to my face as well. Anyway, I better stop now, but I have a question. What do you watch when you just want to laugh and may have watched many times? Oh, everything that I watch that I want to have a laugh at is old. I'll always turn to the Laurel and Hardy box set and watch the music box, which is the piano comedy short, because that just makes me laugh every time. I think everybody needs to watch that Laurel and Hardy short. I will put comedies like Man About the House, George and Mildred, and Robin's Nest on, just because they are the type of comedy that only Fools and Horses is, which is quick wit. You know, Rodney will say something daft. Delboy will come out with a quick wit about it. You know, it's just something I wish I had myself, but I'm just not that fast in the brain to come out with something that quick. I'll even watch slower comedies like For the Love of Ada, because I'm getting older, probably because that particular comedy is about loss and life moves on, and that you can find relationships again when you've had a death of a loved one. So yeah, I'll even watch that. It's, for me, comedy nostalgia is probably the best and something that I look forward to the most. Excuse me, in my back. Oh. So I'll always go back to Steptoe and Son. I'll always go back to Porridge for definite. Things like that. And I am not tied up either with a BBC war and an ITV war either. If it was funny, it was funny. Because I was reminded that Alvida's Ain't Pet celebrated its anniversary on its first broadcast on Central Television, which is, by the way, the network that was broadcast in my area. I've got them all on DVD. So I went upstairs, found them, and I put those on and watched them all the way through. It doesn't take long. There wasn't that many. The ITV ones still surpassed the BBC ones, even though I said I wasn't going to bring that in. But it was just nice to watch it all. You see what I mean? And it then reminds me of watching things a bit more depressing, but stuff of a similar thing, like Boys from the Black stuff and dramas like that. I remember being at school and people doing the catchphrases of it, you know, like, giz a job, I can do that, giz a job. Giz a job was a famous catchphrase around school when I was going to secondary school. So, hope that's answered that, and thank you, Ian. And yes, I've watched your stuff. You did also the SFX magazine, by the way. And Merry Christmas to you, young man. And keep Yorkshire going. Yorkshire tea, the best. And we get to the last comment, which is Weebob Art. Let's see what he says. He says, "Hi, Del. It's taken me quite a few tries to get to your blog this week. Not sure why. Just keep getting interrupted, e.g. door goes, dinner, etc. Anyway, still watching along. Question for this week. Have you seen The Holdovers new Christmas movie? It is rare that a movie comes along that just seems to strike a real deep chord. But this one I can see being a movie that sticks with me for a long time. Therefore, my question to you would be, what was the last movie that you watched that struck a deep chord in your soul? Anyway, all the best and thanks for watching my video this week. Very much appreciated. Hope your back is getting better and your mum is doing well. And thank you so much for supporting me and watching me where you can. Wee Bob, you've helped me out this year. You obviously have told me about the new volume number of Rebella, a software program that's now just coming out, and how cheap I could get it. And it gives me renewed interest to watch your streams again and practice along with the new software. So yes, I'll be coming back. But to answer your question, I haven't seen The Holdovers. No, I've heard about it. And I think the first time I heard about it was in Discord where they were talking about it. They're not talking too much Christmas movies in the movie chats that I've been going to, but I think that'll change this week. I think everybody's going to say, has anybody seen this? Has anybody seen that? And it'll be all about Christmas Vacation, Scrooged and all that. It just can't be helped. It'll just be there. But you asked a question in regards to a film that has struck a chord in my soul. And of course there have been many. I remember as a kid watching Greyfriars Bobby, which was a true story apparently about a dog, or a terrier dog if I remember rightly. The owner died and stayed and slept on its owner's grave until it died itself. And they called it Greyfriars Bobby. Well loved by the Scottish community. It used to get scraps from the butchers, go around, the city, and then return each night to sleep on the top of the grave. Obviously, a very sad story and one that has been told a couple of times. Fluke's another one, which is another dog story where a father gets killed and enters the family dog and tries to protect the wife and the child from the person that killed him, and it was his best friend, and that best friend tries to marry into the family. I think what moves me in that one, though, is not the story, but more the music. And I've tried to find the music to that for a number of years, and it was available in the late 90s. But it was at a time when I'd moved house. And now it's like rocking horse shit. In fact, if you go to Apple Music now and type in the composer, or just the name of the film, Fluke, you won't find it. And it was on the Verasa Saraband label. And I keep meaning to go on eBay, but the last time I looked on eBay, it was £65 or something for a CD, which I'm not prepared to buy. And I've got digital recording of it, but it's not the same. Do you know what I mean? I do like certain stuff to be originals. So, yeah. But the one that strikes a chord with me, and it's not that recent really, but it's because it's still 20 odd years old, is Tuesdays with Morrie with Jack Lemmon. What a film that is. So I'll let you look that one up because I've talked about it a lot. Tuesdays with Maury. And if you ever do get the chance to download it and watch it, or you get a chance to buy it, and it's quite hard to find now, and it only ever came out on DVD, do so. It will change your life, I think. So thank you very much for all those comments, people. I'm going to just take a quick break. I managed to get through an hour and 20 minutes, and I didn't do too badly, but my back is just starting to creak a little bit, and I just need to stretch and then come back. So thank you so much. This will be a quick jump cut for you, and probably just a 5-minute stretch for me. And we're back, and I've done a bit of stretching, and I can't really get comfortable again, so that was probably a bad move, but the stretching certainly helped because I can feel pins and needles in my leg. So that's good. So we moved on now to watched on YouTube. But just before that, I did say that I was going to mention something about the discussion I had about Doctor Who, because there was a shout out I need to really give out, and that was to Sandy Oller, that was part of that stream and was commenting a lot. And I'll read out verbatim what she put. It said, "You asked for comments on what you'd like to talk about. Sci-fi and old children's classics would be my absolute favourite, such as Blake 7, The Prisoner, The Persuaders, The Protectors, Captain Scarlet, Joe 90, The Tomorrow People, Michael Bentine's Potty Time, The Adventure Game, Ivor the Engine, Noggin the Nog, Quatermass, Sapphire and Steel, Space Precinct, Tripods, Time Slip, Catweasel, The Changes, The Box of Delight, The Tinderbox, Lost in Space, The Time Tunnel, The Invaders, The Machine Gunners." I could go on, but I think that's enough. Great stream, thank you. Oh my God. There's a year's worth there, and to be quite honest, every single one is gold. I don't think you put Wurzel Gummidge. But anyway, Denny and I had a chat afterwards, and we already know what we're going to talk about in the next one, but I'd want that to be a surprise. But if I could give a hint, it would be Christmas episodes of probably my favourite TV show of all time. Definitely my favourite writer. So I'm not going to say any more than that. But every single one of those is gold. In fact, if you were talking to anybody of a certain age, you know, you'd have a semi on if you're a bloke reading all of those, because there's just so much nostalgia and so much quality in that there. It could snore people to death of for certain people, but to me, just reading out the names gives me sort of like goosebumps. So watch this space, Sandy. Thank you so much for supporting me. I hope that reading out this just shows that I take everything very, very seriously in regards to improvements and entertaining my friends. And that comment will not go away and is going to possibly be used as a template. Not going to say all of them. Might be mixed in with a few that I'll just choose myself, but a heck of a lot of that in there. Definites to discuss. So with that out the way now, I can move forward a little bit with watched on YouTube, because as you know, there are some certain mainstays and certain stuff that comes up in my YouTube alerts that say I'd be interested in them, and you know, more than likely they end up being quite entertaining. So there's two mainstays. These are This Week in Retro and Tech Moan. This Week in Retro, always a mainstay with Neil. he talked about the Sega Neptune console is now completed as a hardware project to build. COBOL programming and how it can be helped with AI, and how we got cheats and maps before the internet. So a lot of good subjects there. Even though the Sega Neptune completed, you might consider to be probably the top story there. I was never really a Sega 32 owner, so less so with that. But the console looked lovely. The guy has obviously spent a lot of time designing the case for it. He's done a guide on how you can do it yourself. So that's great. You know, you can't ask for anything more in the community than somebody who does something like that. And Techmoan was about what he calls the Great Equalizer, which is the Technics SH8058. And he started off his comments by turning around and saying some people just poo-poo the idea of an equalizer and the fact that the sound should be as it comes out. But I'll tell you what, I used to love looking at equalizers when I went into the hi-fi shop. I was a big fan of Technics. I used to buy their stacking systems. They were a top brand at the time that I could afford. I couldn't really go for Bose and so forth. So Technics was definitely something I bought. And this thing, he even went to the point of taking his old one apart and replacing the battery because the memory had gone on it. So it wouldn't remember the presets anymore. So those two are great ones to watch this week. There's not one there that I didn't get any enjoyment out of. Then we got one that came up by a gentleman called Jeremy C. So that's the normal spelling of Jeremy, but then S-E-E if you're going to look for it. Now he did something called The Best MIDI Keyboard is Actually Free. And it's the Keylab. Yeah. It's called the Keylab Essential 61 keyboard. And I was intrigued because he said the keyboard's free. And there was lots of comments in there saying, I went into the store, picked it up and tried to go out with it without paying, and I got stopped because it was intriguing to know what he meant by free. But what it is it's a MIDI keyboard, which means that there's no real technical expertise inside the device itself. It's incredibly light. It's 61 keys, so not a full 81 keyboard, but it is it has got touch sensitive keys, which means that the lighter you press it, the less emphasis there is. The harder you press it, the harsher the sound. The reason it's free is because the software that comes with it would cost you individually over $300. So when you buy this keyboard, it's like $249. You get all this software free, and you need this software because it's got over 4,000 sampled voices, and these are voices that people use in recorded studios, you know, with their big mixing desks. Not only do you get these voices, but you also get the recording studio racks. That is so that you can compose your own music. There is even a musical stave, drum kits, all of that sort of stuff. And although I know piracy is rife and you could download this stuff, if you were to buy it, it would cost you, like I say, over $300, and you get this fantastic keyboard. And this keyboard is not a toy. He was explaining you can go down the route of buying a cheap MIDI keyboard and then buying this software, or buying expensive MIDI keyboards. They've got so many bells and whistles that if you fall out of love of trying to learn to play the piano or music ability at all, then it was a waste of money. So yes, you get this fantastic keyboard, and the software is just top-notch recorded stuff. You know, you could actually compose top-end film scores with this software. So at the end of the day, it's a bargain. So that's definitely worth a watch if you're into your music, because I mentioned last week that I was thinking about getting a Genos 2, but of course they're $5,500. So yeah, not going to be able to do that. Then you've got My Mate Vince. Now I don't watch too many of these types of channels, but they're ones where they've gone to Amazon and Argos and eBay and returned goods, stuff that's been returned with a fault, and you try and repair them. Some of them are manufacturing faults, some of them are just returned probably because they're useless, and others have been purposely broke to return because it's not the product that they thought it was going to be. And some of them are really, really easy fixes. So he had things like Sony headsets, CD players, and that sort of thing. And the fixes tended to be pretty easy. They were things like ribbon cables, data ribbon cables that connect to the main board that have just slightly come askew. You know, the hot glue didn't keep them in. Other ones where the dry joint has just broken off, and if you've got any, even if you know nothing about soldering, it's pretty easy that if one dry joint has just broke, all you've got to do really is just pare away a little bit more metal. There'll be already the solder there. Heat the solder up and reconnect the joint. Obviously use new solder if you can, but what I'm saying is you could learn soldering that way for the quick, easy fixes that are these. And I've got a soldering iron and I've got a multimeter, so I can do continuity and ohm checking and so forth. So it just got me excited again about possibly doing some fixes. But that would be well off, I think. Then what happened in Discord this week? They were talking about a prankster that got jailed. Now this person who got jailed is called Mizzy. So the channel was called Atzy, which is ATDZY, and it was a sort of discussion, and it was labelled up, "This Joker got jailed for pranks." That's all it was. That's all it's called. Just search for that. The Joker got jailed for pranks. And it's about this YouTuber or TikToker that goes around doing pranks, but they were pranks that weren't funny, and every single one of them was against the law. No word of a lie, this guy walked up to a girl, this lady on a bench, and said, "What a lovely dog you've got. Isn't it lovely? Is it a girl? Is it a boy?" You know, asking simple questions like that. The next moment, he's picked up the dog and running down the park saying, "I've got myself a free dog. I've got myself a free dog." Now, how is that not criminal? How is that funny? Just think of the distress that owner's got, and how would he return back and go, "Oh, it was just a joke, my love"? What? Where? He even enters someone's house in these clips. The door was open, so he walked in, sat on their sofa, and said, "Oh, I thought it was a free house," and then walked out again. That's breaking and entering. Just ridiculous. Never knew about this prankster, but eye-opening. Yeah, bloody hell. And then went on TV, apparently, turning around saying that he's been hard done by. He broke the law, mate. Jesus Christ. And then there's been a lot of, because of the Doctor Who specials, there's been a lot, and I really do mean a lot, of chat about Christopher Eccleston, who played the Ninth Doctor, the person that started off the new Doctor Who series. So it's the Doctor before David Tennant. Because he's been to some Comic Cons. He went to one called Awesome.com earlier this year. And he was up there on stage with Billy Piper. And Christopher Eccleston is one I've got a lot of respect for. Not because of his work on Doctor Who, but more probably because of his body of work in general. But I always found him to be a bit scary. You know, very much to the point. Very political. Very political. and he openly admits he's the thing that holds him back with drama and acting is he doesn't take orders very well. Anyway, he left Doctor Who under a mysterious cloud, and over the years people have been asking him why, and this year he sort of opened up a bit more. Now, he actually went up on stage and they said, they asked him the question, what would bring you back to Doctor Who to do a special? And he said, oh, quite easy, sack Russell T Davies, and he mentioned about 2 or 3 others, Julie Gardner, that's another Russell T Davies producer. In fact, it was everybody that was a producer and a couple of directors, I think, of his first year in Doctor Who. If you sack all those, I'd consider it. Which goes to show just why he left. The BBC did bollocks it all up when they announced he had left after the first episode had just been broadcast. And they said it was because he was tired. He wasn't tired at all. He had a conflict in how he was being treated and how he saw other people being treated on the actual show itself. And when you consider now the talks that are going on about Russell T Davies and how political correctness and wokeism and so forth have been brought into these specials, you sort of see more Chris Eccleston's side of things. So I mentioned that one because it's an interesting watch, because you watch a panel show, a panel convention, which if you have never seen before are quite good to watch, and you watch the truth behind something evolving, but you also see what I mean about probably how stern he actually is, because he did come across very, very stern. And finally, we get to the movie side of things. So if you're not interested in movies, I suppose switch off a little bit. But this week I've been watching Rock God. Always watch Rock God. And just over the last couple of weeks, his output has been massive. But he's done far less this week. He did an unboxing from his good friend who sent him some films to watch. And the thing I need to say about that is that it's lovely that people get gifts and all of that sort of stuff. It does make you feel gooey inside, and you know, it's nice. It's nice that it happens. The nice thing about it, though, is he recognizes what's a gift and what is subscriber mail. I mentioned to him a couple of times that I don't like to be considered a subscriber if I send you something. It's a gift. And I gave a tale of that. If I bought you a pint, it wouldn't be a subscriber pint, would it? We have these little discussions. But you want to see the joy on someone's face when they open up something and, oh my word, it's something that they really want. The glow on the face, the happiness, the overjoyment of it all. If you're having a bad Christmas and you miss your children that have now moved on, their faces when they opened up the Christmas presents under the tree, just go and look at some of your friends that might have a YouTube channel and see them do an unboxing and see their face. It's the same thing. And if you do it yourself and send it to someone, I can't tell you how it makes me feel when I do something like that, because I'm not a stalker and I'm not a person with lots of money. But there are times where I need to uplift myself. And I know that somebody's having a bad time. And all I need to do is pay for a 3 or 4 quid gift and send it. And I'm happy. I've got a smile on my face for 3 days. And you can't buy a tonic like that. So we then move to, brilliant channel always anyway, Rock God, watch that. Then we get Ian Hill, The Ramblings. And his output this week. I mean, flipping heck, you'd need a channel all on its own just to explain it all. But he did an SFX and Doctor Who magazine review. He did a review of Insidious and Insidious 2 review, a Holiday on the Buses review. He did a Hammer House of Horror review of episode 7, I think it was. Not sure on that one when it comes to the numbers because I get lost. Each week it's a different one. And all I can say about that is he does a very honest review. It's very much opening it up and what he feels about this particular article or whatever. And when it comes to the film, he'll read out interesting information about the film, how much it made, what he thought of it, the acting, what the people have been in before this film, etc., etc. Definitely worth a watch. And in a similar interest, there's Mike from Did You See That? So that's Did You See That? Okay, who does a great channel. Now, he did last week the top 10 best first-time watches of non-2023 films. So obviously he's done the reverse, which is the top 10 worst first-time watches non-2023 films. And as I said to you before, that's a history that's over 100 years. So that's interesting, because the one thing you might get out of it, you could probably go back to the earliest film and say, bloody hell, mate, there's another 80 years before that earliest film. Have you not gone back further? You might have a different opinion, but it's always fun to watch. That's what I liked about it. And then he did some reviews of Godzilla -1, which is doing the rounds at the moment, which is a fave of Denny's and one that I'm looking forward to watching. And Wonka, which is, no, I did not say I said Wonka, right? Nearly swore then, right? Which is the prequel to Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And many people are saying it's a good film, it's entertaining, but others are contradicting it by turning around and saying the special effects don't fit in with the first film, so it's disjointed. Plus, the singing gets in the way, and it just doesn't gel when you watch the two together. My answer to that is, which one was it catering for? Was it catering for the Johnny Depp one? Was it catering for the Gene Wilder 1971 one? And even though it's a newer film with CGI and therefore much higher special effects, it's all about the story. And the first film was full of singing. So I've got to look at it, because I've seen it, and say I found it entertaining. And for kids, it's going to be a top film for Christmas. No doubt about it whatsoever. And for other people that are taking their kids that have seen the 1971 original, it tells a different tale. I disagree that the audience wants to know how he makes the chocolate bars. It's more about how he got the chocolate factory, and how he discovered the Oompa Loompas and all of that sort of stuff. So I agree and I sort of disagree. But fantastic channel, fantastic watching, definitely worth a couple of minutes of your time to go over to that channel, peruse some very, very varied things. And then lastly, we've got Euphoria Pictures, who is Keith, who I've spoken to on a few chat panels, who's a great guy, and he's got a collection second to none. And he's gone back to a very, very old collection, which was the Die Hard Nakatomi Tower collection, which basically is one of those collections that are deluxe packaging. And this one is of the Nakatomi Tower from Die Hard 1, with a holder at the bottom that sticks the films in. And I wanted that for such a long period of time, and I couldn't afford it when I was starting up my collection, or should I say continuing my collection, because I've been collecting for years. It was very hard to get hold of, and then when I could get hold of it, it would be from America, and I just thought it'd get damaged, because it's in that flimsy sort of like window pane boxing that you know is just going to get smashed in when it gets to you. So I've shied away from it. So it was great that somebody then shows the actual packaging, and he showed it at a time where it's probably prudent to do so, because everybody always brings up the same argument: Die Hard is a Christmas film, which I'm not going to argue about because it is set on Christmas Eve. Some people will turn around and say, but it's not a Christmas movie. There's no Christmas message, etc. But I say, whatever makes your Christmas is your Christmas film. And that's all I've got to say about that. And although I said that was lastly, that's because I always watch the chat circuit. And Scott, the movie critic, didn't bring out any product to actually record this week, but did a fantastic stream of film chat where you could see that people were just having fun. There are regulars there, and then you have a guest, and sometimes I feel that the guest looks a bit disjointed because they've not been there to gel with the others, and it is more top heavy with the same people, but they make the person feel warm. You can see at the end that they've all gelled, and that guest always brings in something that wouldn't normally be said by the others, which means that you've got a great show. And this Friday's was nearly on par with last week's, but last week's was just hilarious. Funny from start to finish. You just had a smile across your face. And Scott is a very busy person at the moment. He's reached a point in his job where he is the busiest that you ever have, and he does overtime. So my message to Scott is, so I salute you, sir. Have a great Christmas. You're doing everything that you can to make sure that we get what we want for Christmas, and to feed yourself and your family and to entertain us. That means everything to me anyway. So that's what I've watched on YouTube, and then there's what I've watched of your guys' stuff, and then we've reached the end. So just have a quick sip. Got a few bubbles in that one because I've run out of orange. And we get to your YouTube stuff, and here we go. We've got my normals, but so fantastic. Down the rabbit hole. He did Power Wash Simulator on the PS5, and he voiced his thoughts based as well on what Mainmeister said about Power Wash Simulator, because it can be found on VR. Now, I've got it on the PC, and I've got it on VR. I've got enjoyment out of both, and comments are being made about how easy it is on VR. Now, I look at it like this. If you had a proper power wash in your hands and you were washing your car, would you find it easier than washing a graphic on the screen? Because they will put dirt in areas that you can't see unless you bend down and look, or crouch, or move the camera with a mouse or a joystick to the angle at the point of dirt that you can't see. Spray washing doesn't work like that in real life. You spray and the water cascades down and gets rid of the dirt. Plus, you know full well that you've got to crouch down and spray up and go round the wheel arches. And all that time, your head is bobbing. You're moving your head. So, of course, in VR, it's closer to the real thing, and therefore it is easier. I look at it like this. They're both fun games. I will play the PC one probably more than the VR one, but the reason for that is the setup of the VR one. All the time it's putting the head on, loading the game, setting up your boundary on where you're going to be playing it, etc., etc. So that all you got to do with a console is or a PC, switch it on, double click to load it, and bang, you're in. Right. So there is the laziness in there that makes me go and play it on a standard. But I will say this, both editions, fantastic. It's what you want to get out of the game. And if you want something that's easier, then yeah, you're going to find the VR one easier. No doubt about it whatsoever. Then he did the Atari 50th collection is a collection that's on many consoles. It's on the PS5, PS4, it's on the Switch, it's on the PC, across the board. There's a game on there called Club Drive, and he decided to load it up and have a go. And it very much is in the old mold of vector graphics, driving around a weird obstacle map, picking up things in a certain order. And in this particular instance, it's like Micro Machines. So you're a toy car and you go up ramps and flip your car into drawers and things like that to get these items. So that was nice to watch, though, because I have never seen it before. So any game I haven't seen, I've got an interest in straight away. And then the last one he did is his OB Windows course, which is his acting ability as Obi-Wan, or as he calls him, Obi Windows. And he talks about the fact that Microsoft have got rid of the Mail app and it's integrated now into Outlook. And he explains how it does it, what happens, and why it's happening. Brilliant stuff, because it's done in an entertaining way. My addition to that is that just so you know, WordPad goes shortly. So WordPad has been around for as long as I can sort of remember in Windows, right? And it was to fill in a gap for people that couldn't afford a word processor but needed something more than Notepad. The trouble is that did a job for so long for so many people that Word is now free as a web-based platform. And there are so many word processors out there that are free as well, that Word has become obsolete. So from Microsoft's point of view, they are now in a patch that you're going to download shortly. It's gone. And that's a shame. So your Mail app is now integrated into Outlook. And by the way, Outlook is part of Office 365. And WordPad has gone. That's now integrated into Word, which is part of Office 365. Do you get where I'm going with this? Office 365 will take over, and therefore you've got to think about calculators and all sorts of other stuff that you've got that's been free is going to be gone, because it's superseded by the fact it's part of the Office 365 suite. It's just the way it's happened, I'm afraid. And maybe I'll light a candle when WordPad's gone. I don't know. Brilliant stuff down the rabbit hole. You've got my support. Love your stuff. Fantastic. We move to Steve, my friend Steve. I hope you have a great Christmas, you bastard. As you know, that's all my little joke to Steve. And as you noticed, I said, I hope you have a great Christmas. He's doing his Advent Calendar Day, Christmas specials, and a review of Star Raiders 2. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but every day he's done this Advent calendar, which is all around the Pico 8. Fantastic stuff. He hasn't got to Tales of the Arabian Nights yet, but I reckon he's recorded them all already. But, however, saying that, Pico 8 is amazing. I've just bought a mattress, so I'm thinking on Christmas Eve that I'm going to buy Pico 8. And I might sit down and program a game. I've got this funny thing in my mind that I might want to do gaming where I have to think about arrays and logic, if then else and all the rest of it, and get my graphical mind going with Rebella, because he's got a sprite editor and things like that. So coming to a Advent calendar very soon, Del Boy's game. No, I'm only kidding. But please watch his channel. Masses and masses of stuff for you to watch now. Almost as many videos as he had in his old channel, and his old channel was beloved. Still not enough deaths though, Steve. Told you, got to die more. You got to cheer me up. We move to Robert's Retro Gaming. Thank you, Steve. Merry Christmas to you, mate. Wonderful. Robert's Retro Gaming. Well, we talked about Robert all the time. A favourite of mine. He covers the Atari section. There aren't many people that do the Atari, so obviously it's a niche, and from that niche, it's a must. He's been doing his Minecraft, so he did get to Minecraft Play episode 100, but he's also moving forward with his Minecraft in Exile, which was episodes up to 94. Very entertaining. I was expecting probably a little bit more from episode 100, but still entertaining. It had some new stuff in there. From the Atari 8-bit games that he played Screaming Wings, Hacker, Colony, and Panther. And I know more about a lot of those from the Commodore 64 days. But it's nice to see the Atari version getting a mention. So that was great. And he did actually do a Commodore 64 game. He doesn't do it very often, but he did Hero. Hero is one of my favourite games. I think he got great respect and like for it. I would always say the Atari 2600 is the quintessential version. But there we go. And then, of course, he's up to episode 7 of his Steam library game called Euphoria, which is entertaining if you've never played that game. I've got it in my library. I might actually just get that out and play that over Christmas. Who knows? Then we get to Wee Bob Art. He did an announcement about Rebel 7, which is the graphic art package that I talked about literally just a few moments ago, plus last week, where I've bought it. And he was talking about the new features. And it's got me quite excited. He mentioned in one of the features that there is this thing that you can do where you can create a layer, a graphic layer for yourself. And then you can make it so that it's transparent. So the graphic is turned transparent. Then you can get a crayon and you can rub the crayon over it and the image will come through. You remember doing wax rubbings on gravestones, or what do they call them? Carbon rubbings. See Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and you'll see what I mean. And it got me thinking that I could do a picture of Spider-Man with his mask slightly half up. Get a picture of myself, make it transparent, do an etch so that only the pencil marks turn up of my face, and then do a path and layer to merge the two together, and you'd see my face with me ripping the Spider-Man mask off. All sorts of things are coming into my brain. Might do that over Christmas. Don't know. Then we got Mainmeister. And what can we say about Mainmeister? A mainstay, a good friend. He did his Sunday live stream, and he did another of his Arcade Perfect, my arse, Mr. Do's Castle. The thing I like about those is that I like to guess which order he's going to say. Number 1 is this, number 2 is this. And 50-50 is where we perfectly match. And we didn't match on this one either. I think what you have to understand with Arcade Perfect my arse is it's in the word Arcade Perfect, right? It's how close is it to the original? So when I look at closeness, I look at things like screen dimensions, graphics, colors, sound, all of that. So I'll always have a difference of opinion because I won't mark it in regards to, yes, but this one plays better. Does it play like the arcade? Yeah, but this one looks better. Yeah, but does it look like the arcade? And if there are changes, then you have to go and say, is that a minus or is it a plus? Anyway, I digress. Mainmeister. Gotta watch it. I'll say that again. Mainmeister. Fantastic output. Thousands of videos. Been around 13 years plus. Watch him. We get to Seb's place. And he did a video for reasons to buy a Philips G7000 / Magnavox Odyssey 2. So he's bought, obviously, an old console. And he's decided to do it up and learn about it. Sometimes that's the best way. Fantastic. I remember the Philips G7000 Magnavox Odyssey 2 because it was in the front of Dixon's and Curry's windows. It had a keyboard. and I thought, this is weird, a console with a keyboard. But it never excited me, other than I thought it looked quite spacey, because I was into things that looked like, I don't know if you remember Big Truck, which had a pad on its back where you could program the truck to go around your house and pick up things and all sorts. It had a tipper lorry and all. I used to like things that sort of like were silver and glittery, and if it had a keyboard on it and it came up on your screen and you could play games, then I was sold. But it was always out of my price range. I'd already got an Atari 2600, and when I was moving on, I was moving into the big boys, you know, the ZX80, 81, VIC-20, Commodore 64. We were moving into that era. So to me, it was something that my friends didn't have. I had great fun going into Currys and Dixons and Rumbelows to play. I think Rumbelows were around then. Not sure, though. Definitely Dixons and Currys. And it was such an interesting video to watch, because you'll also learn about how many games there are for it and who wrote those games and how many people wrote those games. Interesting. Totally worth a watch. And lastly, 20th Century Gaming, who this week allowed his son to play a game. I saw him play Airwolf, which was hilarious. It was funny. The little lad did so well. And then he did a Commodore 64 stream yesterday, and we saw some games that I hadn't seen before. And it was just fun and entertaining to see people commenting on his gameplay ability, which is absolutely spot on. He played Arnie at the end, the film Arnie, the game Arnie. And that's the end. Oh my God. Another blog comes to an end, apart from the fact that we always do what I bought this week. So we'll switch cameras. Boom, boom, boom. There I am, waving. Woo! This week I bit the bullet and bought a 4K release that's not a steelbook. So many people were talking about this film, and I only bought, it came out at the same time as Scrooged, and I didn't buy it because I bought it on Blu-ray and steelbook and all that sort of stuff. But I went out and bought Trading Places, and it did come with a slip cover, so it is still available with the slip cover. And what can be said about Trading Places? I mean, it's a fantastic film. Most people will remember Jamie Lee Curtis and the scenes that she's in, but that's not to take away to what a great film Trading Places is. Not a Christmassy film, really, although you could say it is, you know, because of the period of time that it's in, which is between Christmas and New Year, and how the stock market is affected around that period of time. So again, one for the Christmas list, possibly. Then during that stream that I told you about 2 weeks ago, they were talking about some films that have passed me by and I haven't bought on Steelbook. This one came down to a ridiculously low price, below £10. And it was Deliverance, which is the Burt Reynolds and John Voight film, which is Man Against River from 1970. Was it 1971? Doesn't say on the back, but I've got that in my head. It's 1971. If I'm wrong by about a year. Shoot me in the head, you know. But it's an early 70s film. The thing I remember about is Burt Reynolds without a mustache, if I remember rightly. I remember it was quite exciting on the river. Don't remember too much else about it, and it's been a long time since I've seen it. So I'm looking forward to opening that up and playing that. And then the new film of the week, which didn't get a great review this year, is The Expendables. As you can see, it's a steel book, like The Deliverance is a steel book. It's Expendables 4. Quite a nice looking steel book. Not fantastic. I mean, it's green and black, you know. I mean, what else can you say about it? No spot glossing, totally matte finish. Very much vanilla steel book. And to be quite honest, where I've usually got hauls and hauls and hauls of films that have come in this week, that's it. Nothing else has arrived. Now, I don't know if that's because of releases, or whether that's because of the Royal Mail. I do know that the Doctor Who specials are on their way, but that's about it. There's a number of things that I've got email-wise saying, we know that you're waiting for this, but unfortunately we've got a delay and you'll be getting this shortly. The big announcement as a 4K release for next year was 7 this week. Comes in 2 versions. There's a $44.95 or $49.95 edition and a $79.99 edition. It's left people a lot confused because it did say December release, but it does say December 2024, as Rock God and Keith from Euphoria Pictures kindly pointed out. But I've got a funny feeling it's an early next year release. You're looking at March, I think, personally. I don't think they're going to announce something that's going to be out December next year. 12 months? No, too far away. But that's my opinion. My opinion. So we get to the media playback. Now, this might be a favourite section of yours, I don't know, but we're going to move to it, so we'll alter my image. I will shut up now, which is a thank God to a lot of people out there, and I'm just going to play some clips of those films that I've just shown you there that I've bought, possibly a little bit extra to get us in the mood. Who knows? Keep watching. I'll just turn off my sound off now.
Louis, if we are lost, I don't want to hear about it.
I never been lost in my life. I'll have you in the water in another hour.
With no hangover, ecstasy with no consequence.
Right, let's see what you can come up with.
From now on, we are going to control your mind. From time to time, we'll put thoughts into your head, and you will obey those thoughts. I never dreamed this could happen, even at this distance. To get inside another's mind so completely, to feel transmissions from his very nerve ends. Of your mind.
And there are whole periods when I can't remember anything at all. Nothing.
Boy, you're coming on strong now. Turning me on now. I feel kind of groovy. Oh, baby, you move me. Well, you get me to the stage where I feel fine. And then you tell me that I gotta toe the line.
Let's fly, baby!
Bring it!
Welcome home, honey.
Do you read now?
What is this?
It's classified.
Coming with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You weren't invited.
Nothing can stop me, I can't get enough. Playing with dangerous bad behavior. Bad behavior. They call it bad behavior.
Hey, why are you here?
I got this situation where I need your help.
I need bad friends.
Was that the new guy?
This our sniper?
Don't worry about it. I got a prescription scope.
Well, Hawkeyes, remember this face. Don't shoot it by accident.
Terrorists have taken possession of nuclear missiles on a cargo ship off the coast. If these babies go off, it'll be World War III.
Take cover!
To choose this life over friends, over family.
It's time to get loud.
Let's fly, baby!
Come on, bring it!
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Is that the biggest one you've got? Oh, it's way bigger than that.
I had the most absurd nightmare. I was poor and no one liked me.
I know what you're thinking. You see Porgy and Bess? We can make it, baby. Me and you.
Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy are trading places.
Help! Help! Hey, I don't want your bag, man. Help! 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 Help!
I'll bet that man could run our company as well as your young Winthrop.
Are we talking about a wager, Randolph?
Is there a problem, officers?
Oh, Winthrop. I'm glad your parents are not alive to see this.
What the? Wait! Now this is totally preposterous. I'm not a thief.
Here we are. William,
Take off your clothes.
You are making a career decision here.
Take off your clothes.
Did you hear what this man said to me? I have witnesses. This man is physically threatening me.
Hey, Randy, Monty, this is nice. I like this.
we are commodities brokers, William. Commodities are agricultural products like wheat, which is used to make bread, pork bellies, which is used to make bacon, which you might find in a bacon and lettuce and tomato sandwich.
I'm considering going long on April wheat. What do you think, Valentine?
slimeball.
Moi?
Put that gun away at once, Winthorpe. You lost your mind?
Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy. They're not just getting rich, they're getting even.
Do you have any better ideas?
Yeah, you know, it occurs to me that the best way you hurt rich people is by turning them into poor people.
Dan Aykroyd. Eddie Murphy. Ralph Bellamy.
We've got to get Wilson and tell him to sell.
Don Amici.
Randolph, this isn't Monopoly money we're playing with.
Denham Elliott.
What a scumbag.
And Jamie Lee Curtis.
By the way, food and rent, not the only things around here that cost money. You sleep on the couch.
Trading Places. Some very funny business.
South on in April of 142!
Have a cracking Christmas at Woolworth, the cracker of a Christmas shopping spree. Woolworth prices, many of them cracked down Christmas. Woolworth is the place to be.
And just a favourite Christmas advert for me to end on. The reason I threw the Sorcerers in was because, well, I didn't have too many films that arrived this week, and I just happened to watch this film on Legend, and it was a Boris Karloff film from 1967, so towards the end of his career. And it had Ian Ogilvy, that I remember from Return of the Saint. I suppose is pretty much one of his last horror films, and I was intrigued by it, and I watched it, and I got great enjoyment out of it. I mean, it's a film of its time, but so are all Hammer films, and I really liked it. I mean, I just got great enjoyment out of it. In fact, I could watch it again. It's one of those films where I'd soon probably, after watching it 2 or 3 times in the same month or 2 months, I'd go, yeah, don't need to see that now for a while. But I can see me in a year's time going, oh yeah, I watched that last year, didn't I? Yeah, fancy watching that. It's one of those ones that I think I'm going to have to track down and buy. You know what I mean? I definitely haven't got it in my collection. And that's the beauty of channel flipping, and you can't sleep at night. And with that, I'm going to wish you all a great week. It's not Christmas yet, so I won't say happy Christmas and a new year and all that, because you got another one from me before that. So I'm just going to say what I normally say, which is thanks very much for your support. Thanks very much for watching this load of nonsense. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you'll give it a like. And salute. Till next week. Bye-bye.